Well, hello and welcome to this episode of the Terri Cole Show. I am so excited to share my interview with Michelle Chalfant with you. So Michelle is someone I've known for a bunch of years. She has also been a therapist like me for 25 years. She has a really successful podcast that I've been on before called The Adult Chair. And she is a therapist and a coach. And she created this model to give individuals a roadmap of how to live more emotionally healthy in our adult lives. So that's what the Adult Chair is about. In this episode with Michelle, we're talking all about what you need to do to live a healthier, happier life. And one of the things we really drill down into is self-compassion. So I hope that you enjoy my interview with Michelle Chalfant as much as I enjoyed interviewing her. I am super excited to welcome Michelle Chalfant to the Terri Cole Show. Hey, Michelle.
Hi, Terri. Thanks
Welcome.
for having me.
Sure. You are a repeat. Have you been on my show? I know I've been on your show, The Adult Chair, very popular podcast.
Yeah.
But have you been on my show before?
No. This is my
Well,
first
welcome.
time.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you.
That is super exciting. So in the intro, I talked all about sort of what you do in the Adult Chair, but I would love to hear your just how did you come to this and talk about the Adult Chair model of wellness and mental health, and how did you come to this? Because I know we have a lot of similarities in our work. I know we've been doing it for the same amount of time. We're both really big seekers, and you know, we're healing alongside of our audience basically. But I love this model of mental wellness and of healing. So I would love it if you would just tell my people a little bit about it.
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, I've been a seeker. I think I've been a seeker my whole life. I don't remember ever not wanting to learn more about spirituality and consciousness and how to heal and all of that. So went on to become a therapist and a life coach, therapist for 25 years, a life coach for about 10 years now. But it was during my own journey of really learning from so many beautiful mentors and teachers and reading every book I could get my hands on, getting certified in just about everything, that over all these years, it was probably about almost 8 to 10 years ago, is when it's like everything just came together. After working with all these teachers, I was in a course actually, working with one of my teachers, and she was doing all kinds of chair work. And I was like, wait, hold on a second. And it dawned on me in that course, like what we all need is to learn how to be emotionally healthy adults. That's what we're all looking for. That's what we're all stuck in that place. You know, if you're not an emotionally healthy adult, you can't set a boundary. You are stuck maybe in depression or anxiety. We don't have healthy relationships. It was honestly, I was sitting on the couch and it was like lightning came through me and I go, oh my God, it was divine. I don't have another word for it. It's divine intervention. I was like, this is what we need. So I really took everything I'd learned over all those years and created this model. It's a user-friendly model. It's grounded in spiritual combined. So it's called the Adult Chair model. You can plug anything into it. Again, whether it be codependency or anxiety or depression, and you will find ways to work with yourself to help yourself heal very simply. I have very simple techniques and tools to help people to heal themselves and really become the healthy adults that they are meant to be, but they're stuck. You know, so many of us are stuck, and so many clients, as you well know.
So we're talking, when you talk about chairs, you're really talking about emotional states. So we have the adult chair, we have the adolescent chair, and we have the child chair. Yep. And it's part of what your work is doing, just so that my audience understands, is helping us realize when perhaps the adolescent in us is kicked up or is making a decision, or perhaps the child in us needs our attention because of the way we might be reacting in a situation. And is it going back in time to those original injuries and doing something around them? Is that basically the concept?
Yeah, it is. So the three chairs are based on, like you said, the child, the adolescent, and adult. And the child, everyone lives in the child. 0 to 6. And this is where we learn all about healthy emotions, healthy needs, like emotional needs, like I need a hug. I need you to tell me that I'm lovable. I need you to tell me that I matter. This is where we learn about vulnerability, spontaneity. This is where we learn how to have fun, creativity. And then about around the age of 6, the ego comes in and really develops. And from 6 to about 25, we're learning how to be adolescents. That's pre-adolescence, adolescence, and post-adolescence. This is where we learn only to live in the past and the future, because the adolescent part of us is the ego, which only lives in past and future, not in the present moment. So we're learning about, our emotions, our defenses. We're learning about all aspects of the ego. So we react, we don't respond. We learn how to push emotions down instead of feeling them. Like it's not bad, but it's a necessary part of who we are. Yeah. The ego comes up with strategies on how to deal with our emotions. The ego is what comes up with the masks that we cover ourselves up with. Then around the age of 25, if we had healthy parents and healthy caregivers around us, we slide into what I call the adult chair. And this is the healthiest version of self. The problem is so many of us come from upbringings where, we might have gotten, our parents got some of it right, but if they weren't healthy, how are they going to teach us how to be healthy? So what happens is we become physically healthy adults, we become physical adults, but not healthy adults, because we're stuck in the emotional component of the adolescent chair. Because a healthy adult sets boundaries, lives in the moment, is empowered, is strong. They can witness their emotions and then take action from those emotions without reacting to them. So that's what happens is we don't get stuck we get stuck in the adolescent from the emotional perspective, but the physical, we are very much, adults.
Yep. And it's so interesting when you realize, becoming the observer, which is basically what you're talking about, right? Observing our reactions to things instead of just reacting, being able to observe, as Deepak Chopra would say, without judgment, right? It's like about curiosity, like, wow, why was that the way I responded in that situation? Let me inquire. Let me look at that rather than all of the making ourselves wrong or making other people wrong, right? It's one or the other. Either I'm an idiot or you're an idiot. But really, of course, it isn't either one of those things normally. So in a lot of the work that you do, you talk about identifying triggers in our lives, the things that, as we're talking about, provoke us into things. And you have some simple steps that you can share about how we can be less reactive and really sort of look at these things as gifts. I mean, gifts is a hard word, but as something that we can benefit from understanding rather than something that's terrible. So can you tell us a little bit about identifying our triggers and seeing them as gifts?
Yeah, for sure. I love being triggered. People think I'm crazy, but I love it because we are human beings walking on this planet, and we don't know all of our unhealed wounding on the inside, all that childhood wounding and scars that we have on the inside. And when we're triggered, it's a way that we can heal those aspects of who we are. So when we're triggered, instead of getting angry at another person, what we want to do instead is pause. And in the moment, of course, I know it's hard to do that. But if we can, give yourself some separation from what's happening. And when you're triggered, just say, wait, I know this is about me. I'm going to look at this later. And then when you have time, you sit down, you can have a journal in front of you. But it's such a beautiful time to reconnect with self. So what I encourage people to do is, okay, drop into what happened. And what is that reflecting about me? It's never an opportunity to blame or judge self, but it is an opportunity to identify what the heck is coming up inside of me that is creating such a yucky feeling. So, for example, if my friend really hurts me and hangs up on me on the phone, let's just say that my friend hangs up on me and I'm like, what the heck was that about? And I get really angry. Instead, what I can do is sit back and go, wait, what is coming up for me? How does this make me feel? Oh yeah, that's right. I feel rejected. So you go with that first emotion that you're feeling, and then you can identify it and say, wait, what else does that say about me? Like what is around this rejected feeling? And then I might say something like, oh yeah, my mom did that to me. When my mom left my dad, it made me feel like I was rejected. So it's an opportunity to kind of dive into that. And then I would encourage journaling around that and really exploring that word. And what happens when we work with these aspects, they start to heal. We realize that friend that hung up on me brought up that thing in me, that rejection part in me, and I get to work on it. And then the next time someone cuts me off or hangs up on me or whatever, I won't take it so personally because it's not a wound. There's nothing to trigger. There's nothing that comes up because I feel complete around that. That's a summary of that.
I love that. And here's the thing. So let's say your friend hangs up on you. It doesn't mean, and you've already sort of gone over and dealt with this trigger, why it was so painful the first time. And then you're like, wow, this is the kid in me responding to the way my mother was, blah, blah, blah. Then there's the reality. Because people will always say, oh, but if I'm triggered, then it means it's me and the situation is invalid. I'm like, no. Being triggered means there's an amplified response to what's happening, perhaps from an earlier phase of development, something that is unhealed. And it can still be not cool that your friend hung up on you, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
That's still an opportunity to draw a boundary. Like, hey, we're grown-ups. If you want to get off the phone, please say so. Don't just hang up on me. But it's interesting. I always find that when people write into me or clients will think that if I have a wound that is unhealed in something, then whatever's happening in real time isn't necessarily valid. I'm like, that's not true at all, because both things can be true. You can be having an amplified response, as you just said, and this situation in real time can need a boundary,
Right. For sure.
Agreed.
Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. Yes. However, if I'm triggered, I'm not going to set a boundary from my adult chair. I'm going to set a boundary from my adolescent chair, which might look like rage. I'm going to react in some way. So from the adolescent, I react. From the adult, I respond. So I might get angry. I might rage. I might text them and tell them off. I might call them back and tell them off, versus responding and saying, hey, hang on. I really didn't appreciate it when you hung up on me. Can we talk about this? Or please don't do that again. If I'm triggered, I can't do that. So I agree with you, though. Yeah, a boundary absolutely would be a necessary thing.
It's so true, though, of that when you are in this activated, as I call it, state, that it's very difficult for us to access our highest selves, right? This is us in the adult chair, is the more mature, the healthier, the more healed version of ourselves. And it's almost like those unresolved injuries, those wounds, make it really hard to respond and not react.
Yeah. And I look at, like, when I was younger, in probably my teens and my early 20s, I definitely had moods that were, they were up and down, and I was triggered all the time. And that was when I discovered Debbie Ford way back in my early 20s. It was a long time ago, Terri. A very long time ago. And I actually flew to New York City, and I worked with her, and I was like, oh my God. And I really applied a lot of her work and realized, wow, like all of a sudden my moods weren't so up and down, and I was much more present. I was able to be present. And I just started working on the triggers. I had worked on these unhealed wounds that I didn't even know that I had. And so triggers are a gift. I really learned what a gift, because it's really a doorway into the unconscious mind. It's a doorway into what we cannot see and what we do not know.
Yep.
So I now can pause and go, okay, wait, I'm getting triggered. So instead of saying I'm triggered, I'm able to now pause. And I would encourage everyone that's listening to this, just insert the pause. Just say, wait a minute, I'm getting triggered. Even saying that separates us and helps that trigger to be outside of us instead of being lost in it. So now I'll say, wait, I'm getting triggered. Okay, I wonder what's coming up. I can't do it right now because my husband and I are having the conversation. I'm getting triggered, but I'm going to take a moment later. I'm going to sit with this. And it's powerful work for sure.
I think there's something really beautiful about the way that you're presenting it as something, as an opportunity, rather than something to avoid. Yeah. And I think a lot of times when we're in pain emotionally, or we're afraid, like we don't know what to do, that we have this tendency to want to avoid, like just whatever. I just overreacted. It's not a big deal. But when you really frame it the way that you have, Michelle, it is this this really beautiful opportunity to get better, to get healthier for ourselves. And again, our mental wellness, right? Who benefits? Well, everybody. But who is it really for? Is us, right? We have to live in this mind and in this body. We are the ones who are dealing with what's going on inside of us. And the more clarity we can create, the more inner calm and peace we can have on a daily basis. Because what I find is happening, you're talking about being aware that there's a parallel process going on. So it isn't just what it looks like. And until we can start looking and saying, wow, there's something else happening here. It isn't just this present moment experience with my husband, let's just say. Because the way I'm feeling is bigger than that. And the fact that it's bigger than that, or I feel like crying in a way, like I'll know that I'm being activated around something old if I get very quickly emotional, because I don't normally. And I'm like, oh, that feels like something old. Like I just feel like bawling my eyes out. Why? Like nothing that happened between my husband and I in this moment is that big. And exactly as you said, I can sit with it and go, okay, so what does this remind me of, or where have I felt like this before, and start journaling out what it's about. And these are things, you guys who are listening or watching on YouTube, is that you can do this yourself all day, every day, any day. And I think that we love to look outside of ourselves and be like, well, if I just have the right person, if I just have the right thing. This is something, Michelle has given you something you could do today, tomorrow, the next day, and every day. And if you actually commit to just taking this action from listening to this interview, your life will change. Because there is so much healing to be done just from this one thing that you have shared with us.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. You're so right. So much healing can be done just by this one thing. So true. So true. Yeah.
I wanted to talk to you a little bit about something that I know that you're really passionate about, and I am as well. It's one of the 4 pillars of my 5 pillars of self-mastery, which is self-compassion. So I know that you are lit up about it, and I just want to hear your thoughts about it. Why do you think it's so friggin' hard for us to be compassionate with ourselves? I feel like with my clients in particular, they're very compassionate with other people. And when it comes to themselves, they're like the meanest, you know? So what are your thoughts on that with all your experience, Michelle?
Why is it so difficult to be self-compassionate is your question?
Yeah, or just your thoughts on it all over.
Yeah. Well, I think it's difficult because we have an ego, and the ego sits in fear, and the ego's job is to, it's always scanning. It's always on high alert for us. But it sits in fear. So it's looking for what's wrong and how to keep us safe. So it can be very judging. It can be blaming. And what happens is it reflects back at us. Like it shoots back at us, the self-blame, the self-criticism, when we start comparing self. And we live in a world right now, Terri, it feels like it's out of control. And we could sit and talk, that's a whole other topic we can go off on, but I think about social media. People look at social media and they go into comparison mode like crazy. And they then beat up on themselves. I've had clients that have walked into my office. I remember when I had practice in Nashville, and they'd come in, and I remember clients walking in crying, like, I'm like, what's the matter? So-and-so's on, I saw this on Facebook. I'm like, what? Like, oh my gosh. So we're not kind to ourselves, or if we make a mistake, we beat up on ourselves. And I have found that self-compassion is, again, another key to really healing depression, to healing those ruminating thoughts, to healing a lot of these things that we're stuck in and we don't know how to get out of. If we can just be kind to ourselves and examine, how am I speaking to myself right now, and paying attention. We have so many automatic thoughts that are just over and over and over. It's like, wait, are you thinking? Are you noticing what you're thinking? Because it's awful. And the beating up, we get caught in this loop. So to have self-compassion and plug that in, it's a game changer for, again, transforming so many parts of our lives. Yeah, it's something we all need to practice, but we're not good at it.
We're not, but I think that one thing that can be really helpful with the self-compassion is really thinking about, would you ever talk to a child that you love the way that you talk to yourself? Or would that be the advice you would say to your best friend who you adore? Would you say, you're an idiot? Right? I mean, it's like you think that inner voice is just so caustic and so mean. But the awareness that you were talking about before is required, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
People,
for sure.
My clients, over the we've been in practice actually the same amount of time, 25 years. And it's almost like clients didn't even know that they had a choice as to what they were thinking. Like you said, there's this automatic thought process that goes on, and realizing that if you have enough present moment consciousness, you can stop long enough to go, hey, what am I saying? And replace that really mean conversation with something kind. Even if it's like, I used to just say to myself in the beginning of changing my own inner dialogue, I used to just say, everything's okay, Terri. Like just something really simple. I didn't make any elaborate affirmations in my 20s because they didn't really resonate with me in a real way. But just not saying something self-blaming when I make a mistake or when something happens the way that I didn't want it to happen, just being able to say, everything's fine. Like in the big scheme, it's all going to work out. Don't sweat it. And there's something, even that is reassuring to say to yourself, right? Just, it's like, it's not the end of the world. So we're allowed to make mistakes. We're allowed to be human. And yet I find that my clients really do suffer with this lack of self-compassion, hence why I include it in the stuff that I teach as well, because nobody teaches us how to do it either. Because did you have parents who were super self-compassionate?
No.
Of course not.
No, they didn't. I don't think anyone talked about those words way back when. No.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
So I know you actually have a community.
Yes.
The adult chair community. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So the adult chair, we have a free Facebook group where anyone that's working on anything can go in and apply the model, the adult chair model, and they talk about it. And it's a beautiful, supportive group of souls in there. I just love reading what they're all chatting about. And then I have a membership where people are joining me every single month. We work on a new theme every month, and I take you on a deep dive. So I do a live teaching, and there's a meditation, there's self-discovery work every single week. And then there's a live Q&A as well as the Facebook group. So it's a beautiful place for people to do a lot of personal work. And again, transform. I'm all about transformation with simple tools. And that's what this membership is all about.
Excellent. So you have an offer for our listeners today. If people want to join your community. Yeah.
Yes. Yep. I wanted to let everybody know that I wanted to give them an opportunity to check it out for a month, and it's $1. And the promotional code is Terri22. So TERRI 22 for the year 2022. Terri 22.
Awesome. So, and I will, obviously you guys, all the info will be in the show notes, but what is the URL they would go to put in the code?
theadultchair.com/membership.
Excellent. That is so nice of you. Why, thanks, Michelle.
Yeah.
Who doesn't want a little bit of self-compassion? You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
You know it. And you also have a book of the same name.
I do. The Adult Chair. It's a guide to self-love. So I really just break down the whole model. It's a very simple little book that you can read and really gain an understanding of what this model is about, and then how you can plug it into your own life.
What I love about the book is that you have, it's like explanations of how to do it, and then things that you can actually do as well.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Like exercises and stuff, which is so helpful. That's exactly how I organized my own book, because it's one thing to read it.
Yeah.
But it's another to be like, but how does this actually apply to my life, right?
Exactly. Terry, that is the whole thing. Because people don't, people don't teach us the how to. And that was a passion of mine. When I was starting my business, I was like, I need to teach people the how to. Like, okay, in other words, I remember hearing so many years ago on Oprah and Dr. Phil, like, God, it had to be 20 some years ago. And I was sitting in a hotel room with my husband, and Oprah was on, and she was talking to this client, or there was like, not a client, excuse me, like a guest from the audience was on. And I remember I was watching, and she had Dr. Phil on, like, as a guest, and they were talking, and he said to her, you need to learn how to love yourself. And I remember I sat on the edge of the bed. I'm like, okay, here we go. How to. Come on, Oprah, give it to me. And there was no how to. I was like, people tell you, like, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to love yourself. I'm like, what's the how? Like, where do you go for that? So I was like, I will teach people the how, because nobody talks about that. Well, you do, but
I feel exactly the same, because, well, part of it is that theoretically we all know it would be good to love ourselves more, but day to day, what does that look like?
Exactly.
Self-compassion. Yes, we all get it. We should be more self-compassionate, but how do I get there, and what does that look like? So if that is interesting to you, take Michelle up on her offer. Everyone's got $1. Everything you need to join the Adult Chair community will be in the show notes. And Michelle, I want to say thank you so much for the work that you're doing in the world. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I can't believe it's the first time. I really thought that you were already on. So I super appreciate your time, and to be continued.
Thank you. Yes, dear. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
No problem.